Temos agora um palestrante internacional que irá falar mais sobre o 5G com ondas milimétricas, que a gente vem falando desde o começo, e muita gente pode ser que ainda esteja com bastante dúvida. Então, para isso, eu convido ao palco o Mr. Shah Zeb, que ele é Business Development Senior Director da Qualcomm.
It has been a wonderful day. So when I landed yesterday on the airport, I was able to connect to 5G. And it is wonderful to see the global adoption of 5G. And in the morning, in the panel, all the executives from Vivo, Claro, and Tim, it was mesmerizing to hear their vision and how they are going to implement new 5G networks, as well as like how they see 5G is going to have a tremendous amount of impact globally on Brazil in particular. So in today's session, my goal is to provide you a brief overview of 5G millimeter wave use cases and how wireless carriers around the world are implementing and building and solving complex problems for their users. In addition to this, I will try to see what are the best strategies we can adopt here in Brazilian market. And one question which everybody has been talking since morning, like how you can monetize 5G and how the business case for 5G will work. So in this session, I will give you a quick brief overview of how millimeter wave business case makes perfect sense. So I think it will be a good, interesting session. So again, you probably have heard all the great things which 5G is going to do since morning. And this picture kind of illustrates on a very high level what is a true vision for 5G. If I have to summarize this again in English, because we have heard so much in Portuguese, 5G's vision is everyone and everything is connected to the internet, and each and every device has a intelligence built into it. So what that really means that you are going to have a consistent experience on your smartphones, whether you are at home, train stations, airports, as well as fixed wireless access for you at home, your private networks, industrial IoT. So 5G is the ecosystem which brings all these different systems together, connected, so they can make these decisions online. So which basically results into industrial automation, productivity increase, and that has a huge impact to create the trillions of dollars in a global economy, which you can see on the screen as well. So now you are thinking, when we have these billions of devices connected, they are going to generate lots of data, both in uplink direction and also in the downlink direction. So in order to support this huge amount of data, lots of billions and billions of devices, how the network planning should be done. And that is the goal here today. Like as a wireless carrier, how can you plan your network, not for today, but for the next 4 years? And Ericsson predicted on their mobility report that we are going to have almost 5 billion 5G devices in next 4 years. So there's a tremendous amount of momentum behind 5G. And again, we all know, and the most valuable resource in telecommunication is the spectrum. And that is what the vision of the millimeter wave is. So millimeter wave gives you additional spectrum in the 5G space so you can realize the true potential of 5G. And why millimeter wave offers you a tremendous opportunity? Because it is in the higher frequency range. And the bigger the frequency, higher the frequency range, it means that you can send and receive more data. It offers you multi-gigabits per second throughput and low latency. In addition to that, you can have unlimited amount of capacity in the network. So when you are sitting at a train station or in an airport or trying to send and receive data, you can see the bars on your phone, but if there's no capacity in the network, you cannot watch video. So this is where the millimeter wave's beauty comes in. It gives you unlimited amount of capacity so you can serve your customers better. And it's a proven technology. We have people here from Ericsson and Nokia. You can see in the room too, the technology for millimeter wave exists today. So we have small cells, devices, 5G, modems end-to-end, which basically covers the full technology stack for millimeter wave. And which basically makes you think, this is one of the reasons why we have such a huge momentum behind this on a global scale. And the device ecosystem is also growing, which basically is critical to realize any true potential benefits of millimeter wave. And I'll share more details on the use cases before, but I think there was a lot of discussion today on how can you monetize millimeter wave or 5G in particular. So this is we did a consultation study with Bell Lab Consulting, and based on the study they did, the results are very interesting. So if you're a wireless carrier, you want to hear this because this is going to answer a lot of the questions you may have in your mind. So so here's the assumption behind this study. Let's assume you are a mobile operator in a country the size of UK with the 67 to 70 million people, and you have a 30% market share. In order for you to have a true impact of millimeter wave, you only need to deploy this in selective locations, which we call hard zones. So what is the definition of hard zones? Hard zones are locations where most of the time your people go. And these locations are where me and you, we both go and spend our time, such as sports stadiums, concert halls, shopping malls, train stations, airports, town centers. So you pick the location where your customers go. And the basic of this study is if you pick and choose these hot zones, which for the country the size of UK, they identified 2,000, your 24 to 25% of your subscribers can have access to these additional benefits of millimeter wave. So you do not really need to deploy this everywhere. You need to be selective in locations where your customers go and spend most of the time on an everyday basis. And another interesting fact out of this was the payback period for millimeter wave is way faster than any previous technology. So when you implement like 4G, 3G, millimeter wave offers you tremendous amount of return on investment. So I have the following slides, which I'll share the more details on that. So when all these things are happening with the mature ecosystem, this picture shows a global landscape, and where we have almost 28 global commercialization around the world, and more countries have spectrum available as well. So when you look into this, starting from USA, in North America, of course, USA has an extensive deployment of millimeter wave, commercialized by 100% all 4 carriers. Japan is similar, but now we see this trend is changing. So we are early commercialization are happening in Asian countries as well as now. Congratulations to you. You are one step closer to implementing millimeter wave. And I think in Brazil, we are also doing some trial with our carriers here as well. So which kind of shows you there's a momentum behind that. And there's one question which I always get asked, like, imagine so we did this survey, and this is very recent survey we did like 3-4 weeks ago. The results are just very fresh. And we asked the question to audience and to people. By the way, the participants for this survey were from 9 different countries outside the United States as well. And we asked the question to audience, where do you really want to use your phone? And where do you really want to consume the data? And their answer were exactly the same if I do the survey in this room. They all said, we want to use our phone when we are sitting at the airport, and just before the flight, when I want to watch a movie, I download a movie. When I'm sitting in a stadium and I want to send and upload a data, I want to upload something on social media, especially. I didn't know that we have 170 million social media users in Brazil. So perfect use case here. And then we asked, where are the problems? Where do you see your pain points when it comes to using the data on your phone? And you'll be surprised, they both coincided very closely. So people have problems where they want to use their phone. And the next question was, would you be willing to pay for an enhanced 5G service or a service which offers you a guaranteed quality of service of that nature? And vast majority said, absolutely, we would love to pay for a service which gives us a better quality in the congested networks. And where we have, when we have nothing to do, we are sitting, we are stadium, we are in train stations, we have plenty of time on our hand. And if you think that doesn't surprise me at all, like there are many people among this room, and also overall you see people pay for upgraded seats in the airplanes. People pay for upgraded premium seats when they go on the train stations or even in the stadium. So there's the appetite for enhanced service, you have to pay more. So there's nothing expected. And then unexpected. So the next question we asked, how much extra will you pay? And that result was like a varied country to country, but on average it was like 12%. So if you're paying whatever today, people are willing to pay extra to get the benefits of millimeter wave and also the enhanced 5G service to that matter. So now, if you are a carrier today, you think, I'm starting fresh on my 5G journey, and how do I build a network strategy and deployment strategy, which is not only applicable today, but this network can also withstand the explosive growth in data in the next 5 years or 3 years. So I don't have to go back to those sites and add the additional spectrum. The good thing is you already have spectrum in hand, so how do you build this? So this is coming from our analysis, talking to the global carriers, and doing some research by our engineering team as well. So when you are building 5G strategy, you want to combine your mid-band, which is your mid sub-6 spectrum, as well as millimeter wave. This gives you a tremendous amount of opportunity to create a network which can withstand your current traffic and also be future-proof to handle the future growth in the data, which again, if you see, global mobile data traffic has almost doubled in the last 2 years. So Root Metrics is an independent study company in the US, and I think they're global. They measure the network performance globally, and based on the recent report, they mentioned and they confirmed millimeter wave networks, they perform much better when there's a congestion in the network. So where the congestion is going to be when you're sitting in these hot zones, these train stations. So what you want to do, if you're a carrier, you want to focus on building a network deployment and engineering strategy which is aligned, which combines both spectrums. And then if you're building strategy, like what does the device ecosystem looks like, right? I mean, there were people here earlier talking about all the device capabilities and how the consumer is going to have such a big impact on the 5G, of course. And if you look into the global landscape of millimeter wave devices today, we have 150 plus. And the beauty is these devices, they covered various form factors. They come from not only smartphones, they have CPEs, we have like laptops, and we have PC modules. So these available devices today cover different form factors and also different vendors as well. So you can see there are 50 plus vendors globally. And before I came here, I know in Brazil we have N258 band, and I was checking like how many devices we have today for N258, and the number is close to 35. So it is not only, like many people may think, this is a premium only. To my surprise, it is not. So there are smartphones available which are in a mid-tier as well. So when you're looking to build and your strategy and the use cases, devices are not the limitation anymore. I know in one of the panels they mentioned, first you need a network, or then you need use cases. So there's a chicken and egg kind of problem. So this is a global map. So the first one I showed you was more like on the implementation and commercialization of millimeter wave. This is more on the use cases. What kind of use cases have been deployed commercially? And without even spending too much time, you can see fixed wireless access has been by far the most common one. And again, fixed wireless access for millimeter wave solves the problem. It gives you an ample opportunity to offer a gig-like speed. And I will share, for example, in the US, I will give you an example before I move to other world. US Cellular is one of our fourth operator. They did trials recently, and with their trials, they were able to offer up to 1 gigabits per second to users in a 10 kilometers radius. And now that was the result of trials, which is astonishing. And now they have commercialized millimeter wave in several different markets. So that's it. That's what you are calling US, which is supposed to have a fantastic broadband everywhere. And now we're talking, this FWA use case is not only applicable in US, our customers and wireless carriers in Southeast Asia, even in Australia, they consider that at a absolutely fantastic opportunity for them to control that digital divide which exists in many parts of the world today. In addition to it, millimeter wave has been commercialized by Verizon, AT&T in the US, in the sports stadium. Lots of use cases have already been deployed, and not only in the US, also in Japan as well. So when they're building these millimeter wave networks in the stadiums, they are also offering additional apps on top of that. So for example, one operator in Japan, they're offering like additional value-added service, so where you can purchase a mobile app subscription or one-time pass when you go to a stadium, so you can look into the various use cases, like a very multi-angle viewing or something of that nature. So there are lots of creativity happening. Verizon covers close to 135 million people, in USA with millimeter wave, and that trend is continuing. So as you can see here, there are lots of pre-commercial use cases as well. Another example of commercial use cases in Southeast Asian countries like Singapore, Vietnam, these countries are solving different problems. So they're looking into smart factories. How can they automate processes? How they can integrate autonomous buses. So one of our operator in Vietnam is using autonomous buses for that purpose as well. So in Brazil, I know our team is going to work closely with the carriers here to implement some solutions in the stadiums as well. So you can see this use cases landscape is changing tremendously. So now, as an operator, if you're starting today, you want to see how do I start? Where do I start from? And where should I focus on if I'm building my use cases for millimeter wave? I am building my network. So one strategy, which has been proven and it works really good, has worked really good for operators in North America, is you start from public venues or you start from sports venues. And once you go here, firstly, sports stadiums gives you a controlled environment. So you can pick and choose, you can play with the configuration, network settings. So that is one step, or you know your customers better, so that is one possibility you can go. And once you deploy in stadiums, the next step could be you can offer and you can start building in another hard zone, which could be shopping malls, which could be outdoor hard zones or train station, or you choose what your customers' hard zones are. And then as a next step, you can start building the millimeter wave network for B2B applications, such as for crowd analytics, for smart factories, and all those use cases which come into B2B category. And lastly, I mean, once these are built, you scale them for capacity. So there are multiple ways to cut and dice this, and the good thing is there are already successful strategies in front of us. So absolutely, I'm here today and tomorrow. We'd love to spend more time on this one to share more insights from global customers in more detail and see exactly what we can do. So if I have to summarize everything and answer the most difficult question in the room today, like monetization, how do you build this and what is the business case for a millimeter wave in particular? Same study which I mentioned before. Just to refresh you, just assume you are an operator in the country like UK, you have 30% market share, and you want to offer a millimeter wave service to your customers. You do not need to build in everywhere. So you pick and choose hard zones where your people go. So millimeter wave, consider this as a capacity solution, and it works really well when it's combined with a midband. So on the middle, you see here. This gives you an opportunity that you can pick and choose and scale accordingly. So you don't really need to build everything on the day one. So you decide, I'm going to target like 100 stadiums today, 100 in next year, and so you build and scale your network strategy accordingly. And then lastly, what is the total cost? What is the business case for this one? And the millimeter wave offers you a net zero incremental capex. So what that really means, that means that when you're deploying it, you want to deploy millimeter waves, midband, small cell, along with millimeter wave. So this way, you do not have to go back and redo your network planning and deployment again. So by doing so, you can see your cost per gig reduces 75%. So if you're building a network in a train station or in an airport, your cost to deploy a midband and 5G together will save you on long run, even at the same time as well, 75 to 80%, which basically translate to a net zero capex. And happy to spend more time on this later as well to kind of drill down further into this report. So if I go on the last one, again, I touched mostly in this session on consumer use cases. Millimeter wave offers you opportunity to offer tremendous amount of benefits, both to business users as well, B2B, also to your consumer as well. So you can look into offering this like a fixed wireless access is a wonderful application, and going into indoor, outdoor venues, and then you can expand it into private networks, as well as your like industrial IoT application. So consider this as a playground where you can do lots of creativity and solve a lot of complex business problems. And I think to realize the true potential of 5G, millimeter wave, I think is a strong catalyst. So thank you very, very much. I hope it was helpful, and looking forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.